the sentiment right across Paris as well. I think they are aware of all the love that everyone in Australia is sending them. Keep on sending them because they do need it. This is their hour of need, given what's happened here in January and now on Friday night, and still that tenseness that's across the city. You can feel it. It's palpable. They need all the help they can get, and let's hope we can continue to do that. Well, look, there's been lots of talk about the generosity of Australians, but also there's been one Australian who was injured on Friday night, and that was Emma Parkinson. I want to get an update from Stephen Brady, the Australian ambassador here in Paris, about that, but also the general feeling, if I can. Stephen, good evening to you. First of all, as you know, there was a bit of panic on the streets of Paris where we were tonight. Can you give us a sense of what it is like where you are and what you've seen through the course of the day and this evening?
Good evening, Carl. I think the mood in Paris is sombre, it's reflective. It is very different from the mood after the Charlie Hebdo massacre in January. People are slowly digesting the enormity of what happened on Friday night. This was the worst attack in France since the Second World War. And as you've said in the last half an hour, the casualty rate will increase. The numbers who are very critically ill in hospital remain at about 90, and people are slowly coming to terms with the fact that Paris will never be the same. With Emma Parkinson, she's in hospital, she's recovering well, Carl. I visited her recently and shortly after she came out of the anaesthetic yesterday, and I was incredibly impressed by the composure of this 19-year-old. She really was something else. You know, she took a call from the Prime Minister, she took a call from the Foreign Minister. Both of them, both the PM and the Foreign Minister, provided what you said a little while ago, offered all Australians compassion and good wishes for her own recovery and the recovery of all French who are today so critically ill in hospitals here in Paris.
Ambassador, I know this is difficult, but I just want to remind people, as difficult as the reminder is, that Emma was at the Bataclan nightclub where 89 people lost their lives. There's been some horrible vision released today of the moments before, during and after that attack. It just gives us another indication of just how heinous that attack was, how brutal that attack was. She was inside that club. Can you give us, from what you can tell us, an idea of her injuries and how long the recovery might be for her?
Carl, she received a bullet through her hip region. The bullet exited. Last night's operation was to clean out the wound. It was successful. She was in remarkably good spirits when I saw her. I was able to connect her to her very anxious mother in Tasmania. Her recovery is going to be fine. Tomorrow her mother arrives in the evening. I'll bring them together. It's going to be a wonderful and very emotional reunion.
How is she psychologically, if I may ask?
Look, she was very aware of the enormity of what had happened. She was processing the fact that she was one of so many who were killed or injured. And for a 19-year-old, under those circumstances, I thought she was exceptional.
Can you tell me how her mum was on the phone? I'm sure she was relieved above everything else to be talking to her daughter. Can you give us any indication of how that was, that reunion over the phone?
Certainly. I passed the phone over and there were tears of joy from Emma, and I'm sure on the other end in Tasmania are very relieved and happy Lisa Parkinson. She has, she's currently flying here to Paris, and the minute she lands, we'll facilitate her entry into France and take her directly to the airport where, sorry, I beg your pardon, to the hospital where Emma is waiting.
Yeah. Ambassador, as you would know only too well, and thank you for giving us as much information as you could about that. As you know, there are so many Australians who are in Paris who ran into a lot today at various scenes here, so many who would be planning to come in here. What would your advice be to them?
The advice is very straightforward. Unless there is an absolute necessity to travel to Paris, think carefully about the security environment here. Try and defer your travel. If in fact you do need to get to France, to Paris, consult the Department of Foreign Affairs website, www.smarttraveller.gov.au. Any Australian will get the latest up-to-date information off that site. Once here, be vigilant. As you've heard, there have been one or two scenes of panic. There is a hypervigilance in Paris today and tonight. There's a level of anxiety, and we'd ask all Australians to exercise appropriate caution.
Ambassador, just finally, because I know you're a busy man as well, you love this city, you live in this city. How does it get back on its feet?
Well, you know, Carl, in the last 11 months, the citizens of Paris and of France have had the horrendous Charlie Hebdo massacre, the madness of the Germanwings aircraft that was taken down by its pilot and which took the lives of Australians, and now this. Yes, any city of this size, there are 11 million people in Paris, life has to go on, and it's a metro that leaves a station in Paris every 2 seconds. It's a city that will pick itself up and go on. The climate change talks, as you know, where there are expected to be over 120 heads of state and heads of government here on November 29 and November 30. That'll go ahead, and that'll go ahead as a statement of defiance to what the terrorists may have thought they might achieve. It's very important that those leaders who gave their commitment to be here on November the 30th show up in respect and a mark of resilience with the French people. If I may, Carl, say that those scenes of our opera house bathed in the French colours and the French flag flying from the Sydney Harbour Bridge, all the other symbols around Australia, they've been hugely appreciated by the French that I've spoken to in the last few days. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister's statements of our solidarity with the French people really have been taken to heart, and I have every confidence that life in Paris will resume its normal pulse, and you know, there's the investigations are underway. They'll take their course. Tomorrow the President of France addresses a joint sitting of the French Parliament, and that'll give a steer to the French public of his and his government's thinking since Friday night. So, you know, we were lucky as a country. You know, when you look at those figures of those killed, those expected to pass away in coming days, those who are injured or bear the psychological scars, we could have expected many dozens of Australians. When you think there are thousands of Australians in the city at any time of the day or night, and we were very fortunate that it was only Emma who was involved in this tragedy.
So good to hear that she's been looked after. Ambassador, we appreciate your time. Thank you for those beautiful, articulate and reassuring words. I'm sure the people of France here will feel the love coming from Australia, and thank you for your time again. And certainly from the people that I've seen here in this beautiful city, a city that I love, and I'm sure many Australians do, they do feel it, but they are going through an awful lot, and they will continue to go through an awful lot over the coming days and weeks.